Okay, let's start with the quadratic formula. So it'll help to remember what that is. So remember the quadratic formula we write as x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So let's plug in a, b, and c. Remember a with x squared, b with x, c our number. So we have x equals then negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 6 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 20 all over 2 times 2. So simplify that under the square root first. 6 squared is 36. Negative 4 times 2 times negative 20 gives me positive 160. All over 2 times 2 is 4. From there, we'll go up here. Under that square root, 36 plus 160, that's 196, which is, the square root of 196 is 14, since 14 squared is 196. We can simplify here, dividing everything by 2, so we have negative 3 plus or minus 7 over 2, and we can stop there. Okay, so we're going to be using the quadratic formula a little bit here. As we do that, let's start just by doing some interpretation. So here it says a business can predict its profit with the following function. P of s equals negative 5s squared plus 70s minus 11,275. Look at the graph and interpret some meanings. So let's see if we can kind of come up with some important pieces of information here. So we have our x-axis represents selling price, our y represents profit. So as I'm looking at the vertex, that's our highest value. So that's giving us our maximum profit, it looks like. So we have a max profit here of 12,500 at a selling price of, what is that, 35? Okay, that's important. What other important points do we have? We have these x-intercepts. So the x-intercepts are when our profit would be 0, so our profit is 0 when the selling price is 10 or 60. I'm noticing between 10 and 60, everything's positive, so we could say we'll make a profit if we sell between $10 and $60. Okay, that's helpful. All right, so let's look at some problems here. So it says, Chris's store, Dunks R Us, can predict its profit P of C based on its number of customers represented by C with the equation P of C equals negative 40C squared plus 4,400C plus 5,000. However, he wants to have a profit of at least 88,000. How many customers does he need for this to happen? So we have some sort of a quadratic function. So I'm going to graph it here so we can get a little bit of a visual aid, and then I can talk through kind of how we would go about solving this. Okay, zoom, fit. Window. Okay. All right. So not a great picture, but this is essentially what we have. So we're trying to figure out, or the question here is, how many customers does he need for this to happen? How many customers does he need to have a profit of at least 1,800? So if we think about a profit of 1,800, that's referring to our y value here. So at some point, or sorry, not 8,800. So let's figure out what's the x value when y is at 88,000. Do I have this typed in correctly? I do not. I'm missing a couple zeros. That's why it's not working out for me. X plus 5, 1, 2, 3. Window. Increase that window. Boy. Sorry for the delay here. Oh, that's not too bad. I want to increase our Y value though. So that's 125. Let's try that. Wow, okay. Just add another 0. Interesting. Okay, I'm having a hard time graphing. But, okay, essentially what we have. So we have some sort of downward facing parabola. And if our x-axis is representing number of customers and our y representing our profit, we're trying to figure out how many customers do we need to make at least 88,000. So there's going to be some value up here at about 88,000. And we need to figure out what's this range of customers from here to here that will give us at least 88,000. So we're looking for a range, like from 10 to 300 customers or something like that. So the way that we would figure that out is we want to figure out what these 2 points are. So what our 2 points are that give us a y value or a P of C value of 88,000. So our goal is to figure out what is x, or what is c, I guess, in this case, when y, or P of c, is 88,000. And the way that we go about this, so we want to figure out what's the c value that makes this true. The way that we go about this, since it's a quadratic function, is by using the quadratic formula. And to use the quadratic formula, your problem must be set equal to 0. So we are going to subtract 88,000 from both sides to start. So we'll get negative 40c squared plus 4,400c minus 83,000. And now we want to use the quadratic formula. So we'll do x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay. So from there, we plug in A, B, and C. So our A value is negative, we're looking here. Our A value is negative 40, B is 4,400, C is 83,000. So our B value, so we have negative 4,400 plus or minus square root 4,400 squared minus 4 times A, which is negative 40, times C, which is negative 83,000, all over 2 times negative 40. So big numbers, big numbers. So let's simplify under that square root first. And I'm just going to go ahead and plug it all in. If we plug it all in as it's written, should be no problem. So we'll have the square root of, so you want to make sure to use parentheses here, 4,400 squared minus 4 times negative 40 times negative 83,000. So we get 2,465.77. All over 2 times negative 40 is negative 80. To simplify further, I'm going to divide both of these by negative 80. So this piece divided by negative 80 is negative 30 about. So we'll have x equals negative 30.82 there. And then negative 4,400 divided by negative 80 is 55. So my x values here, or the values that will make our y 88,000, would be when x is first 55 plus negative 30.82. So 24.18. And when x is 55 minus negative 30.82, sorry. So we get 80.82. So these are our values here. So let's consider these in the context of the problem. So when x is here at 24.18 and here at 80.82, then those are the values that will give us a profit of exactly 88,000. So we can assume then, when we have a number of customers between these, between 24.18 and 80.82, we'll make $88,000 or more, or above it. But we want to think about it in the context of this problem. It says, how many customers does he need for this to happen? So it doesn't really make sense to have 24.18 customers. You can't have a 0.18 of a person or 0.82 of a person. So we have to round either up or down depending on this problem. So let's think about what happens if we round down. So for 24.18, if we round down, that means we're moving to the left here. And to the left side is going to be less than 88,000. So 24 won't work, so we need to round up to 25. For here, if we round up to 81 here, when x is 81, our y value is going to touch below 88,000. So we're not going to meet at least 88,000, so we should round down to 80. So we should have 25 to 80 customers. So the rule here is round up on the left, round down on the right. So let's talk through what we did here. So the question was wondering, or having us try to figure out how many customers we need to have at least 88,000. So if we think about this in terms of like a downward parabola, that means there are going to be these two values that give us exactly 88,000. So we need to figure out that range. So what we do is we set our equation equal to 88,000, subtract 88,000 from both sides to get it equal to 0, and then we apply the quadratic formula. When we apply the quadratic formula and simplify, we end up with two solutions. And then we use those two solutions. Those are the values that give us exactly 88,000. So then we need to figure out the proper range and round correctly. If it's on the left, we round up. On the right, we round down. Okay. We have a few more. I'll do one more. Let's do one more together, and then you'll have a couple to try on your own. So Gabby wants to raise money with car washes. The profit can be determined by the equation P of W equals negative 4W squared plus 90W minus 100, where W represents the number of cars washed. How many car washes does she need to have to make at least a profit of $300? Okay. So let's see. So we want to make at least $300. So let's set our equation equal to 300. Sorry, that's a minus, not a plus. Because with this quadratic function, we're going to have, again, some sort of downward-facing parabola. So we want to figure out what these numbers are when it's at 300. So this is how we do it. We figure out what W is when our P of W, or our Y, is 300. So let's set this equation equal to 0. And then now we can use the quadratic formula to solve for W. So we'll have x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay. From there, we have so let's simplify under that square root. So we have the square root of 90 squared. See this here, there we go. 90 squared minus 4 times negative 4 times negative 400. And we get, oops, I took the square root there. So let's do this way. So we have x equals negative 90 plus or minus 41.23. All over 2 times negative 4, which is negative 8. So now let's divide each of these by negative 8. So negative 90 divided by negative 8, go up here, is 11.25. 41.23 divided by negative 8 is negative 5.15. So let's figure out what these two values are. So we'll have x equals 11.25 plus negative 5.15 and 11.25 minus negative 5.15 plus negative 5.15. So we get 6.1 there and 16.4 here. So those are our two values for this problem. We have when x is 6.1 and 16.4. Those are the values of W that will give us a profit of 300. So again, let's think about how we round. So if we round down on 6.1 to the left, that means we're going to be touching below this line. So we want to round up to 7 because you don't give like a fraction of a car wash. Same with over here. We want to round, in this case, we don't want to round up because that'll push us below 300. So we round down to 16. So 7 to 16 car washes. All right, you have a couple more coming here, so I'll have you try them both on your own. We'll go one at a time, but I'll put them up here. So pause the video, give those a try, then we'll walk through them together. Okay, we're back. So Carly models her salon's daily profit equation off of the quadratic function p of h equals negative 5c squared plus 120c minus 300. How many customers does she need to make a profit of at least 350 for a day? So we want to make 350, so we want to figure out what those values are. So we set our equation equal to 350, subtract 350 from both sides to get it set equal to 0, and then we perform the quadratic formula. So x equals negative 120 plus or minus the square root of 120 squared minus 4 times negative 5 times negative 650 all over 2 times negative 5. So let's figure out what that value is under the square root. So we have the square root of 120 squared minus 4 times negative 5 times negative 650. So we get 37.42 over 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. Now I want to divide each by negative 10. So negative 120 divided by negative 10 is just 12. 37.2 divided by negative 10 is negative 3.72. I shouldn't have needed a calculator. When you divide by 10, you just move the decimal ones. Sorry, not 7, 4. All right, what am I doing? 3.74, my bad. So then we have two problems here, 12 plus negative 3.74 and 12 minus negative 3.74. So we get 8.26 and 15.74. So when we're writing our range, we want to figure out number of customers. Bottom one, we round up, so from 826 to 9. Top one, we round down, so from 15.74 to 15. And we are talking about customers. Okay. Last one, Max's Art Studio's profit can be determined by the equation p of x equals negative 4x squared plus 240x minus 150. How many customers does she need to have a profit of at least 2,000? So we want a profit of 2,000. So we set our equation equal to 2,000, then subtract it from both sides to get our equation set equal to 0. So then we can solve for x by using the quadratic formula. x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So let's figure out what's under the square root here first. So we have the square root of 240 squared minus 4 times negative 4 times negative 2150. And we get 152.32 over 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. Let's divide both by negative 8. So negative 240 divided by negative 8 should be 30. Yep. 152 divided by 0.32 divided by negative 8 is negative 19.04. So our two solutions here would be x equals 30 plus negative 19.04 and x equals 30 minus negative 19.04. So 30 plus that would be 10.6. 30 minus negative 19.04 would be 49.04. So again, we round up from the left, round down from the right. So it'd be 11 to 49 customers. And there you have it.